What is up, everyone? Welcome into the show. My name is Jonathan Messer, and this is Boobies Sports Show. Well, week one of the college football season is over, and it was very interesting to say the least. Before I get into this episode here, there's going to be some profanity in this episode because there's emphasis needed, and I'm about to use some. I don't know shit about college football. Everything that I thought last week, I went 0 for 6 or 0 for 5, sorry, on my picks that I gave y'all. Now there were some that I hit on, like I hit on TCU, Nebraska. That was stuff that I bet, but I don't know shit. Honestly, I'm telling you right now, Wake Forest is winning the national championship. Not Alabama, my original pick, because damn. But, yeah, I'm going with Wake Forest, rolling Wake Forest. Demon Deacons, they're going to get it done for me. Obviously not. But I think Saturday and Sunday, Friday, Thursday, Monday, just goes to show where we are in college football. How unpredictable it all is. Because everything, and I'm not one college football analyst that I saw or that I've watched had a positive or was over 500 in picking. Either had a losing record, lost their parlays, all of it. So it was an interesting week, but with that being said, I'm going to hop into the Boobie poll. So let's go ahead and hop into this. I'm just going to give a rundown of what my ranking was last week, and you'll see where some of these teams have moved. So let's start at 25, and this is in order: Illinois, SMU, Auburn, Michigan, Nebraska. So those were the first 5. Now at 20, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Kansas State, USC. Now at number 15, Arizona State, Texas A&M, Miami, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Now at number 10, Oregon, LSU, Georgia, Florida, Notre Dame. Now the top 5 in order was Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Penn State, Texas. Okay. Obviously, there's especially at number 4, there was a mistake, but it's all good. Now I'm going to give my poll for this week. So I just want to say there are some teams in here that just missed the cut. I can name a few off for you. Kansas just missed the cut. Nebraska actually fell out of this thing. I wasn't happy with how they played. So Nebraska ended up missing the cut. Let's see some more here. Kansas State fell out. Just abysmal performance by them in both games, really. Indiana was close. BYU was close, and Texas Tech was close. SMU fell out. It's not necessarily a thing where I think they're that much worse. I just think necessary teams came in and played better. So SMU's still hanging on the bouts there. Louisville, Pitt. So those are just a few that almost made it. But let me stop dragging this on. Let's get right into it. Okay. Number 25, Michigan. So Michigan won 34-17 against New Mexico. They dropped 3 spots, as you can see. The reason they dropped is really because a lot of other teams just looked better. You know, Michigan, I wouldn't say looked bad, but there was some concerning stuff. The secondary is a little bit spotty. You know, you look at the box score and they had 3 picks, but 2 of them from the linebackers. And what did I say preseason? They have one of the best, they might have the best linebacking core in college football. The front looked good. Jam Miller ran the ball really well. 16 carries, 159 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's good. O-line played better than I was expecting. The main thing here, though, is Bryce Underwood looked great. Obviously, they play New Mexico State, but he looked really good. 21 for 31, 251 yards, and a touchdown. moving on to 24, I got Illinois. Illinois moved up one. They were at 25 last week. They won 52-3 against Western Illinois. Luke Altmaier looked good. The O-line looked really good in pass pro and run on the run game. The defense looked good. They just look, and I got it in my notes here, watching the game back, they just look more polished than Michigan. They look polished, and I really like Illinois going into this Duke game. Number 23, Iowa State moves into the rankings after a 55-7 win over South Dakota. A lot of people didn't think Iowa State was going to cover here. I don't know why. They obviously did. They ran through South Dakota. Rocco Beck looked good. At the start of that Kansas State game, it was a little iffy, but he's starting to turn it on, and you could see that in the second half of the Kansas State game. The O-line looked good in running the ball and passing the ball, but they have a long way to go. South Dakota, you really saw where the lack of athlete hurt them, obviously, because they're playing Iowa State. What I saw from them, though, won't get it done playing in the Big 12. And they got a game against Mississippi State. Obviously, Mississippi State, now they did cover as one of my best bets, isn't a prime SEC team, and they might be at the bottom of the league this year, but that's still big boy football. So it's not going to cut it. They need to improve. Secondary looked a lot better. The blown big plays that we saw against Kansas State weren't there. Brett Elskid, I can't, for whatever reason, I can never get this name right. Eskildson, receiver. He's a sophomore. He's starting to step up. He was our leading receiver. In the front, the defensive front looked really good. Dominique Orange leading the way there. They looked good. I was very happy with what I saw from Iowa State. All right, number 22, I got Auburn, moved up one spot. They looked really good. Running the ball, they looked really good. Jackson Arnold balled out running the ball. We still don't know yet what the passing game looks like. We need to see that before we really get into SEC play here, but we know what type of receivers they got. The O-line looked phenomenal, and I was not ready for how good that offensive or that run game was, even with the running backs. We thought that they had huge question marks in that backfield. Well, they got answered. My one gripe on them is the secondary has some pretty high highs, but also some really low lows. That's got to get fixed. Okay, number 21, we have a newcomer here who absolutely ran through Alabama's face. FSU won 31-17 this week against Alabama. They just whooped their ass all day. The first drive for Alabama was really, really good. 55 rushing yards. Well, they didn't break 30 after that. They just ran through their face, man. Tommy looked really good. Even though that type of offense we know isn't sustainable, I think they can figure it out. I really do think that they're a prime contender now in the ACC. They just look more athletic. And I got it in my notes, man. They were just flying around the field, especially on defense. Now, like I said, they're going to have to pass the ball, and they're going to have to find a real running game. Hopefully Roydell can step up, but they looked really good. Number 20, another newcomer. I've got Utah. They just mollywopped the hell out of UCLA. 43-10. Nico Iamaleava looked like dog. So Utah made him look really bad. Devon Dampier looks really good. He's a transfer quarterback from New Mexico. They also brought in his OC. So they looked really good. The defense was strapping shit. They're physical. And that's what you're always going to see out of a Kyle Whittingham team. They're very physical. Some weapons around Devon Dampier. You got Wayshawn Parker at running back, who's really good, and Smith Snowden at receiver. Utah is a prime contender in the Big 12, I promise. At 19, I have Arizona State. Would you look at that? 3 Big 12 teams in here. Huh. Who would have told you that? Still, Arizona State, they won 38-19 against Northern Arizona. They didn't look great, I'll be honest. For whatever reason, they're not clicking great, and they should. Because that's a team, especially on defense, who has 10 guys returning, that's got to click. Now, obviously on offense, Kanye Udo didn't play much, trying to reserve him, but they didn't look very good. Sam Levitt still played pretty well. He threw a pick, but that happens. My main thing for this team is the fact that Northern Arizona had 9 15-plus yard plays. A lot of people like to consider 20-plus yards explosive plays. I don't. I consider 15-plus yards explosive plays, and they had them. They also had a lot of chunk runs that were not necessarily 15 yards, but 10, 11, 12, 13-yard runs. Secondary really needs to get it together for them. Okay. Yeah, they are down 4 spots. Moving on, at 18, I got Georgia Tech. Sorry, there was a little bit of confusion, so there might be a mic cut here or back there, but 18, I got Georgia Tech. They won 27-20 on the road at Colorado. And what stands out to me here is they won at Colorado after turning the ball over on their first 3 possessions. Yep, you heard that right. First 3 possessions were turnovers, but they got it done. They were really physical. D-line was really good. Got to limit the turnovers, obviously. Both offense and defense look good. They're going to have to pass the ball. Haynes King is capable. They're going to have to pass the football. They didn't move at all. They're still at 18. Moving on to 17, I got Ole Miss. Ole Miss won 63-3 against Georgia State. I mean, everyone saw the chain snatching incident. That was just stupid. But Austin Simmons is really talented, but he's got to take care of the ball a little better. 2 interceptions. That's not what you want to see against Georgia State. Obviously, it's his first game as a true starter, but you want to see that get better. The defense looked really good, but there was no pass rush. Well, let me not say no, but not what you want to see against Georgia State. That's a spot where they really thrived last year, so you really want to see that. You really want to see that start to blossom going into SEC play. And, the offense, obviously, it's Ole Miss. They got some weapons. Moving on to 6. They moved up, actually, 3 spots from number 20. Moving on to number 16, I got USC. They won 73-13 against Missouri State. Obviously, they didn't move, but that's because of movement around them. They looked really good on offense. Jordan Mayava looked really good. The O-line looked really good. The defense looked really good. There's just not much to say. And that's going to go for a lot of these teams because they played cupcakes. They played elementary school, school of the blind, all that shit. So we don't know yet on USC, but they look good. Moving on to number 15, Texas A&M. They're actually down 1 because Tennessee, you're about to see, is number 14. They jumped up a lot. But Texas A&M struggled a little bit against UTSA. The defense didn't look great. Marcel Reed did look good, but they went a lot, like not necessarily 3 and outs, but 5 plays and punt. 4 plays and punt. You want to see that change. Their defense gave up 10 15-plus yard plays, 10 explosive plays. Can't have that. And the pass rush has got to get home. It's got to get home, especially when you have a quarterback like Marcel Reed, who one game can come out here and throw for 250 yards and run for 150, and then the next game, his completion percentage is 13 of 30. It's just one of those things that you got to get down because fourth quarter pass rush with an inconsistent quarterback is very important. Like I previewed before, number 14 is Tennessee. They beat Syracuse's ass, neutral site, 45-26 in Atlanta. They moved up 5 spots. I wasn't expecting Tennessee to look this good. And I understand they were playing Syracuse, and yes, that means something. They were playing Syracuse, so take everything with a grain of salt. But they looked really good on offense. I was surprised with how good Joey Aguilar looked. He looked comfortable in the system. I rewatched that game on Sunday. He looked so comfortable. It looked like he had been there for 2 years, and he wasn't even there for spring. So that's big. The O-line was dominant. They were driving Syracuse, resetting the line, taking them back 3 yards every time. Run game, that's just a constant in Heupel's offense. It's always going to be. It's not going to matter who leaves. Dylan Sampson's gone. Running game's still going to be good. But the defense has got to be better. Syracuse went up the field on them a lot. Arion Carter played great. That's the leader of the defense there. Best linebacker in the nation, in my estimations. But he'll get them right. I know he will. Number 13, I got South Carolina. If you can't tell, they moved back. And it was one of the things where it was just, they didn't look great. They needed a special teams touchdown, a punt return to cover the spread. North Sellers did look good, but a little inconsistent. The running game has to be consistent, though, because if you look at the box score, you see the totals. They look good, but it was spotty. One drive, they wouldn't be able to run the ball. The next, they were able to take off. A lot of that has to do with the O-line. That's got to get cleaned up. The defense bended but didn't break. So Virginia Tech had a lot of not hidden, obviously, but a lot of yards in this game that when you look at it, you wouldn't think they had because of the score. But they went up the field on them. That's got to get fixed. The pass rush was really, really good, though. Brian Thomas, Dylan Stewart, excuse me. I'm so sorry. But they look, the moral of the story is they look really good. I don't think sacks matter as much as a lot of people do. Pressures are what matters to me. I think as far as pressures go, they had a lot of them. I think they only ended up with 2 or 3 sacks. But as far as pressures go, they looked really good. I like the fact that the front, not necessarily the out, because on edge they're insane on the edge, but the D tackles were able to stop up the line. Kyron Drones wasn't really able to sneak out. It was just amazing. It looked really good. And obviously, like I said, Brian Thomas and Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart's probably the best pass rusher in college football. So, that's not something. I'm not necessarily too worried about it. I'm just worried about their secondary and not letting teams go up the field on them, because some good teams are going to punch it in the end zone. At number 12, I have, deep breath, the biggest disappointment in a preseason football team I've ever seen. The Alabama Shitty Tide. I'm sorry. I know it sounds like I'm hating on Alabama, but my goodness, they made me look stupid. And it's not one of those things where this isn't something that you could see before the season, the way they lost. I'm going to get more into that when we go through our recap of these games, but I will say Ty Simpson didn't look bad, just no effort. The reason, now, I'm probably going to get some flack for keeping them at number 12. The only reason I have them at 12 is because of how good they can be. Skill-wise, they can still be the best team in the nation. I'm just going to have to see it now. Number 11, I got Oklahoma. They won 35-3 against Illinois State. O-line wasn't good. I'm still a little bit worried about that. You got Michigan going in there. O-line's going to have to buck up for that, man. Really are. John Mateer looked really good. But, Jaden Ott didn't play running the ball, so I think that running game will improve once he gets back. We don't know how much he's going to play, though, against Michigan. That's something to look at. And the defense is just unbelievable. There's nothing else. Defense is just unbelievable. Shout out Taylor Wine getting his first career sack. It's pretty cool. Number 10, I got Miami with a huge win over Notre Dame. Oh, I forgot to mention the fact that Alabama fell 8 spots. I'm sorry, I know that was a few ranks back, but yeah, they fell 8 spots. Sorry, excuse the interruption. I'm sorry, another interruption. Oklahoma stayed in the same spot. Obviously, you can see that. Okay. Miami, at 10, moved up 3 spots. They jumped some teams. They did. And they deserve it. They jumped South Carolina and Oklahoma because they played better. And I think they're really starting to come along as a secondary and being able to throw guys in there and get going. Obviously, the whole hindrance on the transfer portal is the fact that you don't have the guys there in real games to see how they play. Well, these dudes pinched together and they bonded and they came up and played together. You love to see it. Carson Beck looks very comfortable. He looks like 2023 Carson Beck. He doesn't look like 2024 Carson Beck. He looks comfortable. The run game in the O-line was really good. Mark Fletcher balled out. Pass rush was really good. Great, actually. Ruben Bain is just a grown man. That dude's just impossible to block. And the secondary, like I said, it looked a lot better than I was expecting. Still some stuff to clean up, but overall it looked good. I think C.J. Carr played really well too, though. I think some of that has to do with it. He was making some really good passes as a freshman too, but we'll talk about him later in the episode as well. Number 9, Clemson. They didn't necessarily disappoint me, but they didn't play as well as I was hoping. They've dropped 6 spots after losing to LSU 17-10. And I will say, the score was close, but LSU went up the field on them. In the second half, they could not stop LSU. Clemson could not stop LSU. Looked like shit going through a tin can. I mean, my goodness gracious. Damn! They have one of the best defensive, what we thought. Clemson had one of the best defensive lines in college football, and they got Caden Durham ran all over that ass. That ass. O-line for LSU, what we thought was going to be a weakness, bullied that ass. Peter Woods, silent. TJ Parker, silent. What the hell? Step it up. I got some more notes on this game, but I'm just going to focus it there. No, we need to talk about Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik let me down again, too. Damn. He's 0-4 against the SEC. At some point, something's got to change. Hey, Dabo, come on. I know you're listening to this. You're one of my 20 subscribers. Hey, Dabo, clean this shit up. Damn. So one-dimensional offense. No run game. Nothing. I know it sounds like I want this to be known. I don't hate Clemson. I actually really like Clemson. I really like Dabo Swinney. But damn, something's got to change. Something's got to change. Moving to number 8. On a much brighter note, Dante Moore. I told you. Looked so good. They beat the piss out of Montana State. I wish I never put them as one of the best bets. We're going to go over those two. But yeah, Dante Moore looked really good. The running game looked really good. Defense looked really good. Not much else to say. They played Montana State. Moving on to number 7. Oregon moved up 2 spots if you can't tell. And Georgia right here at 7, they moved up a spot. Gunnar Stockton ran the offense well. Gunnar Stockton is not an unbelievable athlete. He's not an unbelievable quarterback, but he's a smart guy. He ran the offense well, operationally. Offensive line still looked a little bad, especially in the first quarter. They started to find their reins a little bit, but then it sagged off at the end too. I know one play in the first quarter, Gunnar Stockton dropped back the pass, and all Marshall did, it wasn't even a wall stunt. It was just a delayed backer blitz, and man, he pushed Gunnar Stockton all the way out the pocket. Now, he scrambled for about 7 yards, but against a really good SEC team, that's going to be a sack. So some of that stuff just has to be cleaned up. Defense was great, though. Defense was actually unbelievable. That was great. Number 6, yeah, Homer, shut up. I got Florida. They moved up a spot. I really like Florida this year. If you had to, hard on the line, gun to my head, I tell you Florida beats all the teams I've previously mentioned. But that's just me. They won 55-0 against LIU. This game could have been 300-0. But Billy Napier's kind of that, as far as attitude, I'm not comparing these two. Please don't get this twisted. But as far as attitude, approaching games, he's not a run-it-up-the-score guy. Kind of like Nick Saban. You look back at Alabama, obviously there were some games, but when they played the smaller schools, this was similar to the score because there's no reason to do that. In these games, you just try to see operationally what you got. But the O-line looked good. D-line looked really good. This is what when you play bad teams, you want to do to bad teams what a good team does. Well, Florida did what a really good team does to a really bad team. Held LIU to less than 100 yards. Unbelievable. Florida had 0 penalties. 0 penalties. They only gave up 2 first downs. I don't know if y'all understand how unbelievable that is. 2 first downs in 4 quarters of football. Unbelievable. The young guys in the twos looked good, too. All right, let's move on. Notre Dame. Yes, Notre Dame lost. But I moved them up one spot to number 5. And this is my prime example of power ratings over rankings. Power rating, or if let's say we were ranking these teams. If we're ranking these teams, there's no way in hell Notre Dame's ahead of Miami. But this is a power rating. I promise you, if Notre Dame and Miami played on a neutral field tomorrow, Notre Dame would still be favored. Do with that information as you wish. In a neutral field game tomorrow, I'd still pick Notre Dame over Miami. C.J. Carr, for a true freshman to step into a hostile event. Miami actually had a home environment, a stadium pulse. Surprising. But they looked, for him to step in and be that good was very encouraging. That dude's going to be a hellacious quarterback years to come. Run the damn ball. I mean, shit. It's the third quarter and Jeremiah Love has 4 carries. You got to be shitting me, dude. That's pathetic. They need to figure that out. Secondary has to figure some stuff out. The pass rush was good, but it's got to be better stopping the run. D-line, Mark Fletcher had his way. Absolutely had his way against them. And we're going to talk about this more once I get into the game. Chamar Brown also had his way with them. So that's something that's got to get fixed. Okay, moving on to number 4. I'm sure there's a team you've been thinking about that I haven't listed. And yes, that team is LSU. Beat Clemson 17-10. All my worries about LSU are gone. Every single one of my worries about LSU are gone. I'll tell you right now, the only reason I don't have LSU at number 1 is because I'm still holding on to the teams ahead of them being Texas, Penn State, and Ohio State. I am still holding on to them being that good of a team. But LSU looked the best out of any team on Saturday. Them and FSU, to be honest. But Nuss looked great. He was making good decisions. They ran the ball well. Finally, you run the football well. Stop putting all the pressure on Garrett Nussmeier on 3rd and long. They ran the ball well. The O-line, like I said before, looked a lot better than I anticipated. And the defense, finally, thank you. Brian Kelly has been praying to God to give him a good defense. And it finally happened. That defense looks hellacious. Okay, number 3, Texas loses to Ohio State, 14-7. Obviously, I picked Texas to win this game, but they didn't. Arch was bad. And we're gonna call it out like it is. Arch was bad. Arch did not play well. Arch is not overrated. Arch is not screwed. Arch does not suck. Arch Manning will be perfectly fine. I'm telling you right now. Judged on my ratings, he underperformed. But judged on my ratings, I still think he's going to be what I thought he was. A really good, pretty good to really good quarterback. He still has 11 games ahead of him without SEC championship playoffs, all that. So I'm excited to see how he grows. What I am worried about with them, and what isn't just a one-off performance, is the receiving core. My goodness, could not create separation, looks slow. That's not something you can necessarily fix in practice. That's not. I'm worried about that. Running game is very good though. You know, Quintravion Wisner, C.J. Baxter, 8. The D-line was really good. Secondary was good too. The defense looked great. Offense just got to move the ball. Number 2, moving on, I have Penn State. Not much to say here. Aller was really good. The defense was really good. And there is something to say. They won 46-11 against Nevada. The receivers. Let's clap it up for Penn State. I'm trying not to hurt y'all's ears here. Let's just little clap for Penn State. Little clap for Penn State. Finally, have some receivers, man. My goodness, it's about damn time, James Franklin. But receivers look good. Okay, and my new number 1 team in the nation, Ohio State. Yay, Ohio State. Boom, boom, boom. Fireworks, everything. They deserve them. Defense was lights out. That's a bunch of homegrown kids. I'm not going to sit here and listen to it, but Ohio State buys their team. Yeah, so does everyone. All right, shut up. Oh, the transfer portal, blah, 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 blah. The people who ball for Ohio State, most of them are homegrown kids. Obviously, you got Caleb Downs, sure, whatever. But those guys, a lot of them, the superstars and the superstars to be on Ohio State are homegrown kids. Julian Sayin did what needed to be done to get the win. And that's what Ryan Day told him. You look at the interview between Ryan Day and Pat McAfee a few hours before the game. Excuse me, no, it was a few days before the game. They were already in Columbus. He said, I didn't ask him to be a superstar. I asked him to go operate our offense, just do what's needed to win the game, and he did that. I'm excited for that kid. No turnovers, no huge mistakes. They do need to find a consistent running game. You know, James Peoples didn't do what I thought he would, and he didn't get a bulk of the carries, really. It was C.J. Donaldson, but, you know, it's got to be more consistent. Some of those kind of like team we mentioned prior, you know, I didn't say this about A&M, but it was true about A&M, that they need a more consistent running game. It was true about Miami. It was true about FSU. They need a consistent run game. That doesn't mean the running game's bad. It's just got to be good or good enough every drive. But they do, like I said, Ohio State needs a more consistent running game because it wasn't there. You know, everyone's freaking out about Jeremiah Smith. Don't. He's still an alien. O-line settled. They still have room to work. They have room to grow. They still need some work. But they settled in. You can tell it was battle-tested. They look pretty good. I mean, shit. They were driving the hell out. I know you all saw the clip. It's just consistency. They were putting some guys on skates, but also there were times where Texas reset the line of scrimmage and was in the backfield. And like I said about Texas, the defense looked amazing. Oh my goodness, what a performance. Defense looks great. The front looks great. Igminosa was consistent. He was really good. Obviously, you got Caleb Downs. I'm very happy with what I saw from Ohio State. So that is week 2 of the Boobie Poll. Moving on, take a sip of water here. I hope everyone had an amazing Saturday weekend watching college football. Week 1 was great. I mean, I was telling my friends I was watching the games with, Friday felt like Christmas Eve. Saturday was Christmas. It was beautiful. And the good thing about it is we get Christmas for 5 more months every Saturday. This show is going to be posted on Thursday. School, man, busy. I should probably tell the teachers I need to get my priorities straight. School's not my priority. Just kidding. But moving swiftly along. Oh, I will say it's still going to be a show on Friday. I'm going to recap the games here, and then I'm going to record another show to post on Friday, my predictions and everything. I just don't want to make this show too long. That would be like, 2 hours. Ain't doing that to y'all. Okay. Shit, no one will watch it either, so I can't do that to myself. We're going to go in chronological order here. Auburn beats. Bam. I messed that up, so we're going to go at it again because I need a better endpoint than that. Here's the endpoint. Auburn goes into Waco, Texas, and beats the Baylor Bears. What a game this was from Jackson Arnold. On the ground, really. I mean, you look at his rushing statistics, 100% trumped his passing. His passing statistics were 11 for 17, 108 yards. 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But running the ball, 16 carries for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. Night and day difference there. I mean, this team ran the ball down Baylor's throat. 307 rushing yards. 307 out of their 415 yards were rushing. Baylor's going to have to find something up front. Because, my goodness, that box was stacked, and that box couldn't do shit about Auburn's running game. So, I'm very happy with what I saw. Obviously, passing the ball, they didn't do much of it. So, Cam Coleman, Nicholas Singleton didn't really eat, but they didn't have to. That's not a thing that they really needed to do. A few more player stats here for Auburn. Damani Alston, he was the guy who I said would probably be the running back 1, but I didn't know about. Well, now I do. 16 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Great game by him. And also carrying the ball, Jeremiah Cobb really stepped up. He had 16 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. So, if you can have a running game like that, they're going to win a lot of games. Now, obviously, it's not sustainable to that degree, but I'm happy with what I saw. Baylor has got to play better on defense. The secondary was good, I think, but it didn't matter because the defensive front was some buns. That's got to get cleaned up. Auburn's offensive line is a lot better than I was expecting, but I don't think they're that good to the point where they should be running 307 yards over everyone. Baylor Sawyer Robertson looked really good. I mean, listen to the stat line: 27-48, but 419 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. They're gonna have to figure something out. I told you guys before the game that Michael Trigg is probably the best tight end in college football, and I stamped that now. 7 receptions, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Him and Cole Wilson should be a really good duo. I mean, Cole Wilson's a receiver, not a tight end. He had 8 receptions, 134 yards. So they got weapons. They just got to figure it out. Running the ball, Bryson Washington was 14 carries for 54 yards. I'd like to see that get better. Obviously, he was hurt throughout the game, but that's got to get a little bit better. They were okay running the ball. Got to get better. Takeaways from this game: Auburn can really lean on you. Like I said before, that offensive line is really good. Running the ball, really good. And when they needed to pass the ball, they were good. That needs to transfer into SEC play. Baylor's offense can fly. They made Auburn's secondary look really bad at times. So that's something Auburn needs to get cleaned up. But Baylor's got to get some help on the defensive side of the ball. Both of these teams, like I just mentioned before, both of these teams' secondaries need to improve. Auburn's more than Baylor. I think Baylor's look decent. Obviously, there's stuff to improve on, but Auburn's got to get that done because there's teams in the SEC with quarterbacks like Garrett Nussmeier who are going to shred you. Auburn needs to be able to pass the ball more because, like I said before, you can't just expect to strictly run the ball in the SEC. It's just not going to work. That's not how the SEC is. That's never how the SEC is going to be. You're going to have to be non-one-dimensional because you got teams like Georgia who can stack the box and they can put their corners and safeties on islands and they're good enough to get it done. So you got to win more than one way. Baylor has got to get better up front. If they want to survive in the Big 12 is hard-nosed, rock you in the damn face football. And they're not built for it right now. Obviously, Auburn covered the spread here because they won 38-24. The spread was 2.5. I hope you took Auburn money line. The over did hit here. The over was 57.5 and the over hit. So good for you if you bet that. Moving on to our next game in chronological order. We're going to talk about Texas versus Ohio State. What a fun game this was for the warm old football crowd here, right? No fireworks really. I mean, Carnell Tate had a long catch, but no fireworks. It was good old fashioned football. I love it. See, for some it's not entertaining, but I love it. I absolutely love it. But let's get into it here. Endpoint. Ohio State. The Ohio State defeats the number 1 team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns, in Columbus, Ohio, in Ohio Stadium, 14-7. Ohio State was favored by 1.5 here. Obviously, they covered. Hope you took money line. The over-under was 46.5. Obviously, the under hit here. Julian Sand did just enough. He did what he needed to do to go out and win. He got the ball to some receivers. Jeremiah Smith had 6 receptions, but the yards weren't necessarily there. They said, Texas sat back and said, we're not going to let Jeremiah Smith beat us. He only had 43 yards. They're really good against him in the playoff game. They're really good against them today. Or not today, sorry, on Saturday. C.J. Donaldson got the bulk of the carries, 19 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. The running game was good but inconsistent. At times, it went dormant. You can't have that. That's got to stay up. Carnell Tate had 2 receptions, 49 yards and a touchdown. He looked really good. Of course he did. It's Carnell Tate. I was surprised with how... Well, let me not say surprised. I was hella surprised with how low scoring this game was. Obviously, we knew both these teams had good defenses, but I wasn't expecting 21 combined points. Ohio State obviously has some stuff to figure out, but their homegrown talent is really good. All former 4- and 5-star guys. I'm really happy with what they were. Ohio State deserves and earned the number 1 spot. They're really good. Now let's move on to the Texas Longhorns. Arch Manning, I talked about it during my ranking or ratings portion of the show. He looked bad. He was 17 of 30, 170 yards, 1 pick, 1 touchdown. He also had 10 carries for 38 yards. He wasn't good. I mean, that's the long and short of it. He wasn't good, but he's going to be fine. He was a little gun shy. You know, when you look at him, you can't see me right now, but he's dropped back. I want you to close your eyes and envision this. Arch Manning drops back in the pocket, flips his hips to the left, reading the field, flips back right, and he doesn't see anything he likes. He's looking, has to throw the ball away. That happened a lot on Saturday, and it wasn't. Now I will say, like we talked about in the ratings portion of the video, his receivers gave him no help, but you got to make decisions. You can't be indecisive with the ball, and that's what he was. Quintravion Wiesner was really good, 16 carries for 80 yards. That's going to be a Texas thing. Their running game's really good. Jack Endries at tight end had 4 receptions for 50 yards. He can't be a leading receiver. This can't be Penn State. It can't be, because Texas can't win like that. Ryan Wingaw is very disappointed. 2 receptions for 35 yards. That sucks, man. I really thought he was going to be something better than that in this game. Now, he could still, obviously, 1 game's not a season, but he needs to step up. Big time. Big time. Ohio State, if you would have told me that Texas would hold Ohio State to 14 points in their own stadium, and you told me that on Saturday morning, I would have bet my mortgage, my life savings, and my college fund, all of it, and put it on Texas. But I would have been wrong, so thank goodness you didn't tell me that, and thank goodness I didn't do that. Texas had 336 yards of offense. This game was won on 4th down. That's where Ohio State only had 203 yards. Texas went for it on 4th down 5 times, twice at the goal line, and got stopped. They were 1 for 5. That's got to change. Obviously, 4th down could be spotty, but 4th down is a skill, I promise you. I don't take 4th downs away from teams because 4th downs can be a learned skill to complete. Ohio State was 1 of 12 on 4th down, so obviously they didn't go for it as much. But Texas did, and they got stopped. Great job by the Ohio State defense. Some takeaways here. Both of these teams obviously have ways to go offensively. The score can show that. Obviously have a ways to go. Let's not get it twisted. They can get there, though. I believe in these teams. I believe in these coaching staffs. So they'll get it done. Sorry, making a note for myself there. Both of these teams have very stout defenses, obviously shown 14-7. Texas was held to 5 for 14 on 3rd down. Ohio State was held 3 for 12 on 3rd down. Both of these defense shine. The secondaries up front, they looked really good. I already talked about Arch Manning. He just needs to improve. Julian Sayin can really run that offense. He disperses the ball well when needed. Obviously, there's hella room for improvement, but I was encouraged with the operation. And lastly, these are 2 of the best teams in the sport. If you look around on Saturday, you're not going to find me 3 teams better than these teams. It's just not going to happen, right now at least. So I'm not discouraged by Texas. I'm not discouraged by Ohio State's offense. I'm happy with what I saw. Okay. Well, now would be a good time for me to ask you to please pretty please like and subscribe. I work really hard on these videos here, and with school, my goodness, the schedule gets really crammed. And liking and subscribing shows me that this matters and that it encourages me to keep going. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about Alabama Alabama against FSU. Okay. I need to get out of this mood, even though Alabama made me look stupid. All right, endpoint here for myself. Florida State University absolutely bitch slaps Alabama at their own stadium. Ohio State, home field advantage. That's not what did this. We know that's not what did this. Ohio, and here I'll tell you this. I have a rule on this show where I talk about winners first. I talk about the winner of the games first, but I'm breaking it here. I'm going to talk about Alabama, and I'm going to rant about it. Alabama, what the hell? What the hell was that? A lot of people like to see Alabama fail, and I get it. They've won a lot, but it's sad to see a Titan fall like it's fallen because what the hell? I mean, you go out there and you rush on the first drive, 55 yards rushing, and then you rush for less than 30 yards the rest of the game. Absolutely putrid. I mean, where's the effort, damn it? Where's the effort? Where's the want to? Where's the competitive endurance? Where's the drive? I mean, I know Nick Saban threw up 8 times throughout that game. And usually it's some of the lower grade players, or it's some of the twos who are young guys and haven't learned the culture yet. Not this time. Bray Hubbard, one of the best safeties skill-wise in the SEC, is walking on the field. I told you guys before, I coach youth football, and obviously there's so much more that goes into it. I'm not comparing the two. But if I saw a player walking on the field and quitting on a play like I did, pulling his ass out, that is putrid. I mean, damn. Have someone. You are at the University of Alabama, and you can't play your ass off. Get the hell out of here with that. I'm not even gonna. The only thing I'm gonna talk about with Alabama is the fact that Ty Simpson didn't look half bad. 23 of 43, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I'm encouraged by him. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to even talk about Alabama. So piss poor, it shows. That what was shown on the field cannot be fixed in practice. That's mental. So we're just going to talk about FSU. Obviously, FSU covered the 13.5 point spread. The under hit on this game because it was 50.5, only by 2 points though. It was 31-17. Let's clap it up for FSU. I am, as you all know, I'm a Gators fan, 100%. And when I talk off the field, there's certain things where I'm unserious, but I can be 100% serious on this show. And I am telling you right now, FSU is a prime contender in the ACC, and it is so beautiful to watch what happened for them from Mike Norvell. I'm taking my Gator fandom and putting it all the way to the side. If I was a normal college football observer, I would be so happy for FSU. That's just so great to see happen. Gus Malzahn comes in there at OC and just looks great. Has the team flying around. Norvell needed that win. That's the biggest win of his career. I know he won the ACC championship after going undefeated in 2023, but that's the biggest win of his career. Tommy Castellanos looked amazing running the ball. Passing, he was only 9 for 14, 152 yards, but that doesn't matter because he ran the ball through Alabama's ass all night. He had 16 carries. 16 carries at quarterback, and a lot of them were designed, I promise you. He had 78 yards rushing, excuse me. That's really good. For a quarterback, you don't usually see that that often, but he's that good. He can get it done. As far as the actual running game, there's going to have to be some type of pickup because you can't just expect Tommy Castellanos to run 16 times a game and have 78 yards every game. It's just not going to happen. It's unsustainable football. And if you try to rely on it, you're not going to go to the ACC championship because there's teams that can stop it. Miami will shut that shit down. So that you can't be one-dimensional, but it didn't matter. We're not talking about later down there. We're talking about right now. Micah Danzy had 3 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. It was just inconsistent. There were with a lot of these teams, and that gets cleaned up because a lot of it's offensive line, but it can't be spotty. It can't be one drive we rush for 2 yards and the next we rush for 28. We can't do that. It's got to be 20, 28, 24, 22, every drive. We can't go dormant. Jalen Lucas had 2 receptions for 66 yards at receiver. It looks like he's stepping up, and that's good to see. FSU was 2 of 2 on 4th downs. It was huge for him. And I'm sorry, I will touch on Alabama one bit. Jeremy Bernard looked really good. And and the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I went 0 for 5 on my picks. So I gotta point out everything I got right. Jeremy Bernard, like I said, is one of the best receivers in the country. He had 8 receptions, 146 yards. What a guy. Okay, let's go into my takeaways. Alabama sucks. I'm just kidding. But looked like it on the field. No effort. That's what their problem. They have an effort problem. Ty Simpson looked pretty good. FSU is so athletic, and that's what really shined in these games. When you got a team who's not giving enough effort, athleticism shines, and FSU's did. They're a real contender in the ACC because of how dynamic they are. They're just so dynamic. Alabama's not near the team that we thought they were. It's sad to see, but I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Great job, FSU. Clap it up for FSU. Love to see it. Seminoles, get it done. All right. Got 2 more games to talk about, and then we'll go into my best bets. Recap, really. Not a my best bets will be given tomorrow. Sip of water there. Thursday night game starts in 10 minutes. We got to roll through this, bitch, don't we? We got 2 more games to get through, and best bets recall. I might have to prop this game up on my phone to start out with. I'm just kidding. All right, let's get started. Let me stop rambling. That's the issue, and I'm still rambling. Okay, endpoint here. LSU Tigers defeat the Tigers of Clemson in the Death Valley Showdown. How aesthetic was this game, man? Very. That's the answer. Very. Clemson was a 4.5-point favorite. I took them to win, and they lost. Yay! LSU won outright. Under hit on this game. A little surprising there. Not surprising for some. Surprising for most. 57.5 was the over-under. Garrett Nussmeier looked really good. I think he outplayed Cade Klubnik. He went 28 for 38, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He made the throws that he needed to make. He made some spectacular throws as well. The reason he looked better than he did as far as completion percentage and not throwing picks is because they weren't in 3rd and long every damn drive. You know why? Because Caden Durham came in there on 17 carries and had 74 yards and a touchdown. That's a true running game. That's a true balanced offense. And since they have that, I'm telling you right now, LSU can win the national championship. They can win the SEC. They are a force to be reckoned with right now. Aaron Anderson, I'm going to point it out again because I need to point out everything I got right because it wasn't much. Aaron Anderson, I said, was going to be a stud, and he is. 6 receptions for 99 yards. Obviously, we knew he was a stud from last year, but I said he was going to take a step up, and he did. And these Clemson receivers, like I said, were really good as well. It was spread the wealth for them. 4 receptions, 66 yards for Bryant Wesco, and TJ Moore had 4 receptions for 55 yards. So it was spread the wealth, and they balled out. Clemson has no running game. I was right about this too. I was very worried about that running game, the backfield, and it showed how bad it was. Adam Randall only had 5 carries for 16 yards. He did have a touchdown, but it was a punch-in thing. It wasn't like he carried him down the field or had a big run. Cade Klubnik, figure it out for me, dude. and 4. I ranted. I don't have to go so long on this one because I kind of ranted about Clemson in the power ratings portion of this. 19 for 38, 230 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Cade Klubnik, in the past 4 games against the SEC opponents, he is 0 touchdowns for 7 picks. It's bad. That's a bad stat line, especially for NFL draft type of guys, because it shows that he can't play against real competition. And I'm a fool for hyping him up. Let's go into some team stats. LSU had 354 yards of offense to Clemson's 261. They ran this is the big discrepancy right here, and I want you all to listen to me. LSU had 108 yards rushing. Clemson had 31. They were under 40 yards rushing. You're not going to win football games like that, especially against an SEC team that good. And that's been an issue for a while for Clemson, really ever since Travis Etienne left. You got to every year it's like, okay, not this year, but years prior it's like, okay, we got guys who we think are going to step up and be really good backs, and they're just mid. Well, they're going to have to find a running game. Let's get into some of these takeaways. LSU's changes on defense really worked. I didn't really touch on LSU's defense. I should have. I already did in the rankings, but my goodness, that's one of the best defenses in the SEC, and the staff upgrades and the player upgrades really worked, and they're clicking. The portal guys are clicking. The secondary looked good. Up front looked really good. I'm very proud of what they've done there. Clemson isn't good up front as we thought. O-line was still pretty good. They didn't play elite like I thought they would. The D-line was not good. I mean, like I said before, Peter Woods and T.J. Parker were supposed to be some of the premier defensive linemen in college football this year. Played like ghosts, non-existent. LSU's offensive line is a lot better than we originally thought. Rumblings in camp were that it was going to be an issue. Well, guess what? It wasn't, because they flatlined Clemson. I already mentioned Clemson needs to find a running game because they're going to be one-dimensional against good teams. We're going to stop it. And then LSU's portal additions really came to play, and they can really play together well. So I'm happy to see what I saw with Clemson there. Okay. Well, that was not the last recap. We got one more recap, and then we got Boobie's Best Bets recaps, and then we're out this bitch. Okay. Here's my endpoint here for the Miami game. The Hurricane, the U, gets it done against Notre Dame. Wow. What a game this was. I mean, it was one of those games where, even Notre Dame was behind, but they really came back because they started to figure stuff out. CJ Carr really started to ball out, but I'm not talking about them first. It was a game where Miami was in control the whole game. And you want to know why? Carson Beck was comfortable. 20 of 31, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He was able to sit back in the pocket and deliver footballs. Not necessarily because there was no pass rush, because he was confident in himself and he made it happen. He was the reason that Miami won outright. The spread was 2.5, and they won outright. 50.5 was the over-under, and the over-hit. Mark Fletcher ran through him. I'm not going to say that, but an MF a face. 15 carries, 66 yards, and he wasn't the only one. Miami's running game, their backfield duo that I said was going to be really good this year, really came through. Charmar Brown, 15 carries, 54 yards and a touchdown. They balled out, man, and it's beautiful to see. The O-line dominated in the running game. Notre Dame had some decent pass rush. Babacar Toure, I already mentioned him in the preview video, is an absolute stud, and he dominated last night. Excuse me, I keep saying last night. Not last night, but Sunday night. Just wasn't enough. Malachi Toney really stepped up at receiver for the Canes. He had 6 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. I was worried about this receiving group, and they eased my worries. C.J. Daniels had 5 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, it's just good football. That's what you like to see. I think up front they're going to bully any team they play in this or in the ACC. They are now my favorite to win that conference. The only reason I have Clemson ahead of them in the power ranking is because I know what Clemson can be. Tomorrow, if you were to put them two on the field, I still believe that Clemson wins just because I still believe in that talent. I still believe in what I saw preseason. I'm not going to get rid of that just because of one game. But Miami has a real shot at winning the ACC this year. They're going to be better than I originally expected. That secondary was, iffy. It was iffy. CJ Carr was able to make some plays, but it's better than I was expecting in week 1. Moving on to the Fighting Ish. The Ish. CJ Carr was 19 of 30. 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but he also had a rushing touchdown. He balled out, especially for a young guy like that. It's really nice to see what he did because there needed to be a sense of reassurance and settling for that Notre Dame program moving on from Riley Leonard. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see what I saw, obviously. They just need... I like Denbrock a lot at OC. I really do like Denbrock. But he's going to have to run the football. There's no excuse for Jeremiah Smith having 4 carries when you're in the third quarter. And and then they tried to force feed him, and Miami knew it was coming. They're the reason that he didn't have a huge game, being the coaching staff. Jadarian Prince, though, did have 6 carries for 45 yards. That's it. Best backfield in college football, top 3 at least, and that's all it was. Eli Raridan had 9 receptions for 97 yards. He should have had a much better game, in my opinion. He dropped some huge balls, but pause. But it is what it is. Let's get into some team stats here. As far as yards go, they're almost identical. Miami had 324 yards. Notre Dame had 314 yards. Running the ball, they weren't identical, though. Miami had 119, and Notre Dame had only 93. 2 turnovers by Notre Dame really hindered them here, especially the first one. Malachi Fields fumbles the ball. That's tough in the first quarter. Not necessarily because, we know what happened with Miami on that drive. They messed up the field goal, but just losing that drive sucks because it really showed. Some of my takeaways from this game. Carson Beck is back and he's comfortable. Looks like he's 2023 form. Looks like he's taking a step. CJ Carr looks really good, like I previously mentioned. The one thing about Notre Dame is they're going to have to get better on the O-line. Their O-line's good. I'm not saying their O-line's bad. It just has to be better. And they will be better because they're some guys who haven't necessarily played that much, So they'll get better. I'm not too worried about them. Secondary was iffy. Carson Beck was able to dot him up a little bit. So that's gotta change, especially if they want to make a run at anything this year. Jeremiah Love has got to get the ball in his hands more. He needs touches. I guess I am because if they do it, but I'm not going to sit up here and watch Jeremiah Love, dude who should be winning a Heisman, get 4 carries until the third quarter. That's bullshit, Denbrock. That's bullshit. All right, Miami's pass rush looks really good. Ruben Bain's a stud. Wesley Basante. I call him Basante. There's some people calling him Basaint. I like Basante. I think it's cool. He looked really good. The pass rush there is just so good. Ruben Bain's a grown man. He's back from injury. He's so talented. What a guy he is. And like I said for the Texas and Ohio State game, both of these teams are 2 of the best teams in the country. And I think both teams look good. They both look more polished than Texas and Ohio State did. But nonetheless, Miami gets it done against Notre Dame. Okay, that was my last game recap. About to take a sip of water here. Cowboys, Eagles is about to kick off. So that's being recording on Thursday night. My last segment on this show is going to be a recap of Boobie's best bets. Didn't go great, but let's hop right into it. Here's a good end point. Boobie's best bets. Let's win you guys some money. Everyone likes money, right? Well, I know that for a fact. So every week we try to win you guys a little bit of money. I throw a few picks on the board. And this week it didn't go too smoothly for me. I went 3-4. Not horrible, but definitely not great. First game I told you to take was Georgia Tech -3.5 over Colorado. That game did hit. It was close, but Georgia pulled it out and they ran down the field. Haynes King broke one loose and scored to cover the spread. And honestly, it should have been more. If those 3 turnovers, obviously football, coulda, woulda, shoulda, football's football. If those 3 turnovers don't bite you in the first 3 possessions of the game, it probably would have been more. I don't even count this one. Bama -13.5 over FSU. I mean, dude, let's be for real. That game went horribly for me, to say the least. South Carolina -7.5 against Virginia Tech. That hit. It was a good bet. Obviously, had to get a special teams touchdown to put that one through, but it happened nonetheless, and I was really confident in that one, and it hit. Pretty much a money line game, but it wasn't. I had Notre Dame -2.5 against Miami because I really did think they were going to go in there and win. That one didn't hit. Not much to talk about there because we just did a game recap on that. This one, in all honesty, I was really taking Taylor Lewan's. I was trailing him here with Montana State +27.5 to cover against Oregon. Oregon just blasted them. I mean, it wasn't close. I don't. There's not much else. Oregon looked really good. I already talked about them in the ratings portion of the show. The one that did surprise me, that I was really confident in, Ball State +17.5 against Purdue. I think Purdue won the game 31-0. I was surprised, man. Purdue looked good for a team that's first time together on the field. I was happy with what I saw, especially being what they were last year. But, hey, you win some, you lose some. And my last best bet was Mississippi State at Southern Miss -14.5, and that hit. I was really happy with what I saw from Mississippi State. Maybe they're not going to be an absolute doormat this year. I was happy with it. They got a big game against Arizona State coming in, though. With that being said, everyone, thank you so much for locking in, rocking in, stepping in with me today. I'm excited to keep getting this rolling. Be flexible with me as far as the scheduling goes because, well, I know I don't have people necessarily just sitting there waiting for my shows to drop. But I do appreciate you guys listening in. It takes a lot of time to get this stuff done, especially with school. I'm in college, so it's hard for me to get this done. And as I'm talking, Jalen Carter just got ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott before he even played a snap. Wow. Sorry to go into it, but that is insane. Right after the kickoff, a dude's down for the Eagles. They're attending to him, and Jalen Carter starts to go there, run his mouth to Dak. Dak retaliates talking, and Jalen Carter spits on him, gets ejected. First play of the game. Before the first play of the game. Wow, pathetic. Sorry. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow for another show. Please like and subscribe. God bless.